What is up, friends? Today I would like to discuss and debate one of the hottest topics in the fitness world, which is what is the minimum effective dose for exercise? In other words, how much do I actually have to work out to get the result that I want? Maybe you've got a busy schedule. Maybe you just don't want to work harder than you need to. You are in the right place because today we're going to talk about minimum effective dose for strength training, for endurance, and for hypertrophy, that is mass gains or muscle definition and toning. Okay, now there's a lot of different answers potentially to this question. So asking a coach, how much should I exercise each week, is a lot like asking a baker, how do I make a cake? Well, it's going to depend on the baker, which cake they tend to like best, and what they want to tell you. There's so many recipes out there, okay? But what I'm going to give you today is a very simple, condensed guide, and we're talking minimum effective dose. Maybe not the most effective dose, but the minimum, in my opinion, that is required for you to actually get the physiological response that you desire. So first thing that we need to define for this conversation today is, what do you want out of all this gorgeousness right here? Do you want to improve general health? Do you want to maintain general health? Do you want to improve strength gains, your ability to exert force? Or do you want to look like you have sexy, defined, massive muscles? Now, let's talk a little bit about the last one first, and then we'll work our way back up. So when it comes to mass gains, hypertrophy, and toning, they are all the same thing. Now, I know a lot of people are worried, especially people who self-identify as female or feminine or femme, will tend to worry that they don't want to get too massive or too bulky. Now, this does depend largely on your individual hormones, your chemical makeup, your genetic predisposition, but in general, people who fall far on the female side of the gender binary will not get big and bulky, and people who fall more on the severe male end of the gender binary are going to on the spectrum, excuse me, not on the binary. Binary is bullshit, right, guys? Okay, but the spectrum of gender, those who are falling on the male side, are going to have the hormones and the genetic predisposition required to create that big, massive, bulky muscle mass. So you may or may not be able to create the look that you necessarily want without some chemical help, is what I'm saying. But if you're going all natural, which is generally what I recommend and definitely what I coach, then we are going to be talking about all of these things, whether it's muscle definition, whether it's toning, whether it is hypertrophy, whether it is mass gains. It's all the same thing, and the technical term for it is called hypertrophy. So you will hear me refer to this cluster of goals as hypertrophy from here on out in the video. Okay, so we have our hypertrophy goals. We have strength goals. This is if we want to be outright strong. Is there some crossover? Certainly there can be. You can have crossover between strength and hypertrophy, and that depends on reps and sets, which I get into. I think I've already done a separate video on it already, maybe last month, but I'll be happy to do another one. In any case, we're not going to get into the reps and sets in this video. We're just going to be talking about the minimum effective dose for number of days per week and number of hours you need to put in for these various goals. So muscle mass and hypertrophy, that requires the most time commitment, the most hours. If we want full-on strength, bone density, connective tissue density, the ability to exert force, that's going to take a moderate amount of time to achieve those goals, because those kinds of goals require more intensity and more rest in between in some ways. And then finally, we have our general strength or health maintenance goals. So, or health progress goals. So we've got our health progress goals. That's people who are maybe just beginning. Maybe they've got the diabetes or the excess fat or the other, potential all-cause mortality junk that goes along with just not exercising, right? And we want to start making progress for health goals, okay? That requires very minimal amount of time. And the minimalist amount of time is going to be maintenance maintenance plan. So let's get into it. I'm going to give you some very specific parameters for each of these goals, and it's going to help you decide what you need to carve out in your schedule to actually get the done. Heck yeah. So let me share my screen with you. Here we go. Okay, so for general health maintenance, in general, 60 minutes twice per week. And we're talking about like a blend of full body exercises, some strength training, some high intensity interval training, some endurance training. So general whole body exercise twice a week, 60 minutes. Or if you're just getting started, I would break that 60 minutes up into 30 minutes 4 times per week, okay? So you can break these minutes up for general health goals, and it will not have a negative impact, okay? So I would say either 30 minutes 4 times per week or 60 minutes twice per week if you have been at it for a while and we need to back down to a maintenance plan, either because life, whatever reasons you might want to have for like no longer making necessarily progress, but not losing any of the strength that you have maybe achieved up until that point, right? If you want to maintain strength that you perhaps gained during a growth phase, and you want to just chill for a bit, twice a week is fine. Just exercise 2 times per week, and that's good. Okay, general health progress. Okay. So this is somebody who's just starting out and they want to make significant progress with their body composition, with their overall health markers, with their strength gains, with their cardio. So all of these things. Again, we're looking at a whole body program, 60 minutes, but 3 times per week, in my opinion, is the minimum effective dose for general health progress. Okay, then we have beginner strength gain progress. So maybe you are just getting started, but you're a little bit past the general health thing. You're like, I want to get strong. I don't want to just get like generally healthier. I want to go beyond that and get really strong. You can do that with the same 3 days per week, 60 minutes, but you are going to maybe do a little bit more focused training for strength, high intensity interval training and strength training to really get those muscles going. So if you're a beginner, you're in your first 12 to 18 weeks of a program, you're going to make progress on 3 days per week, no problem. If you've got general health goals, you're going to make progress, a lot of progress on 3 days per week, no problem. If you're going down to 2 days per week, that's good for maintenance, that's good for not losing your gains, but you're not going to necessarily gain from that 2 days per week. If you're going from 0 to 2 days per week, are you going to gain some? Yeah, a little bit. But if, I'm a big fan of big results. So I like big results, measurable results. 2 days per week, even for a beginner, it can sometimes be difficult to measure results. In other words, to say, oh, I could lift 5 pounds more after, a few weeks, or I lost, 6 inches on my waistline after however many weeks. So we want if you want measurable progress, then I would say 3 days per week, 60 minutes at a time is the baseline, is the starting. That would include your warm up, your workout, your cool down. So if you're doing some kind of cardio, strength, and then flexibility, mobility, that is perfect. Okay. Hi. Okay, back to the thing. All right, so that's for our first few goals here. Now, what if we're going beyond that? Now we're maybe not a beginner anymore. We're maybe in that intermediate, like we've maybe been making pretty steady progress on 3 days per week for a good 18 weeks or so. But now our progress is starting to plateau. Now consider that, yes, your progress will not be as fast as it was when you were a beginner. It just won't. Once you get past that beginner phase, that first 12 to 18 week mark of being in the beginner phase of any program, your gains will start to taper off a little bit, but they shouldn't go down. So that's normal. But if we want to still continue seeing measurable progress, and keep in mind, having a good program also is key, but we're not discussing program design, reps, sets, any of that stuff. We're just talking about how many days per week do I have to work out, right? So back to the thing. So intermediate or more, like if you're over that intermediate stage, so intermediate to advanced strength gain progress, there are some compound movements for strength gains. There's some good, like I've been on some powerlifting programs that have been highly effective with 4 days per week. In fact, many of the programs I've been in are really just 3 days per week of strength training, but then also a day of like cardio. Depends on your program, depends on how you split it up, depends on the trainer you ask. But in general, you can expect that if you are past the beginner phase and your goal is strength gain progress, you want to be a strong person, you want that bone density, you want that connective tissue density, you want to be able to exert force on your world, then you can expect to dedicate about 4 hours per week to that process. 4 hours per week is what you can expect as your minimum effective dose to dedicate towards that process, okay? Then, same thing for beginner mass gains, okay? So if you're trying to, let's say maybe you don't want to just get strong, you also want to start getting that muscle definition, you also want to start getting some muscle mass perhaps, that same 4 days per week will do you, but it's going to be a different style of program. So keep that in mind. This is not the full answer. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want the full iceberg, go to www.thenerdgym.com, sign up for a membership, and I will help you out with the entire berg. Okay, where were we? Yes, and then finally, okay, so you can go from intermediate to advanced strength training with this 4 days per week, 60-minute session. You do not need to do more days per week if your only goal is strength. But if you say, I want mass, I want muscles, I want to be a freaking bodybuilder, beefcake, buffed out, and babylicious, ready to rock and roll, then you're talking about dedicating some serious time to that project, because once you get past that intermediate phase of mass gain, once you're in your first, the last half of your first year, the first part of your second year-ish of your body project, as it were, then you're looking at spending 60 minutes 5 days per week, probably on a body split program, or 90 minutes 4 days per week, depending, on the length of your workout, depending on a whole bunch of things. But basically, you can expect to spend about 5 hours per week minimum on the project of, I want to look like beefcake, okay? So most of the folks I work with, so can I write you a program for any of those things? Yeah, of course I can. I've been doing this for 12 years? 12 years? Oh my God, I feel so old. Yeah, if you are just getting started, you probably don't have to worry about any of the latter part of what I just said. Just understand that, yeah, it's, your body is, you have to, if you are just a beginner and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to work out 5 days per week, don't sweat it. The first step is just like do 3 days per week for progress. 3 days per week for progress if you are just getting started. Make sure you're getting a good whole body workout. Make sure you're getting some cardio for your heart and lungs. Make sure you're getting some good strength training for your joints, for your connective tissue, for your bone density. Make sure that you're getting some hypertrophy specific training. That's the specific reps and sets for those muscle massies. If you have beefcake goals, even at the beginning, you can still have beefcake goals. Don't worry about it if you're far from beefcake and you have those goals, those hypertrophy goals. That's okay. I said I was going to call it hypertrophy at the beginning of this video, and I ended up calling it beefcake. In any case, hopefully you know what I mean by that. If not, I will be happy to clarify. You can go ahead and drop any questions that you have on this video or related topics or anything else. Hell, if I don't know the answer, I will make it up. Go ahead and click in the comments. Let me know what you got, and like, subscribe, all that stuff really helps me out a lot. Appreciate you. And yeah, if you got the inclination, and you're not already a member of the Nerd Gym, and you want some kooky, wild person on the internet to help you out with that stuff, www.thenerdgym.com. We do live classes, nutrition classes, positive coaching online, and it's super duper fun. Okay, I'll see you all next time. Bye. 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 Bye.